Hello and welcome to neilsspanishflybox. I hope you're all well. Another early season tying today, and some of you may be asking, well, what is early season? When does it start? When does it finish? Here in Spain, generally speaking, the season starts in mid-March, but in some regions it may be later. In Aragon, for example, it's the third Saturday, which in this year's case is the 18th. So early season could be through to the end of April, but certainly mid-April. So really you can consider early season for at least a month from the start, and possibly longer, depending upon the weather conditions that you're experiencing. So today's early season tying is a pheasant tail nymph, which you could consider to be a variation on the theme, but it is a slightly different tying. So let's get into it. In the vise, I have a size 14 wide gape hook, and this is specifically for the early attacks, and that can be quite ferocious and give you a better chance of hooking. And it is a 3.3 silver bead, which I'm going to mount. Now, as I say, this is a variation on a theme, but you will see why it is capable of catching trout. Later on in the season, if you want to use this pattern, try changing it to a copper bead, and you may find some success with it. Right, I'm going to tie in a coq de lion tail. So I've taken off a feather, and I'm going to take off a few fibres. In this instance, because of the size of the nymph, I've taken off about 8, possibly 10. And I'll tie those in. We'll pull those to length. We don't want them too long. Yeah. And wind down to the end of the shank, or let's say the straight of the shank, and trim off the excess. And there is a rib, a copper rib, and this is a medium thick copper wire, and really it doesn't matter what thickness you use. Just break a piece off. It's a question of a little bit of flash and keeping the pheasant tail in place. So I'll just bind that down. Like so. Right, pheasant tail fibres. Probably not more than 3. So I should just take 3 off. Tear them off, and I'm going to trim up the tips and tie those in. Now, some of you may want to use the tip of the pheasant tail fibre. And the reason that I don't use that is because quite often, after 2 or 3 hits from the trout, the teeth can damage the tail and even break them off, which leaves you with a tailless nymph. Right, I'm just going to wind this on. Up the shank, touching turns. Towards the eye, and tie it off. And trim up. Now I'm going to wind on the copper wire in the opposite direction. tie it off. And hopefully this will helicopter off. And it has done. Right, now for the colour, I'm going to use a hair mix, a mix of squirrel, rabbit and hare, and it has got some long guard hairs in it. So I'll just dub this on. I'm just going to put a little bit more on. Right, and I'm going to tie off the fly, like so, and trim up. I'm now going to brush out the fibres, give it the leggy effect. Right, now we're going to finish this off with an orange collar, which is of course the attractor, and this is Glow Bright number 8. Now you don't need many turns. I'll just trim off the excess. And tie off the orange thread. Right, now as a means of securing that, I'm going to put some UV on there. Now be careful of the UV that you use. You don't want to use UV that is going to change the colour. So obviously a clear UV. And give that a zap. Now, as you can see, this is a UV floss, and so it has a great reaction with UV light. Let's just give this a little bit of an extra brush, and there you have the tying finished. It's a very simple tying, but it's very, very effective for the early season. And I would suggest that if you wish to tie that in a 16, again in a wide gape hook, perfect for the early season. Adjust the size of the bead, which of course will be silver. I hope you enjoyed the tying. If you're not already a subscriber, hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.